Good morning. Happy Monday. You can see it's a really nice day out here today. The sun is streaming right into the living room here. How are you? Okay, let's get started. Today we are doing a stretch class. I do have some props here that are not 100% necessary, but want to give you some options simply because I don't have a wall. I only have a screen, so if you have a wall, this is going to work for you. If we don't have a wall, I do have a foam roller. I do have a lacrosse ball, okay, or tune-up balls or any kind of therapeutic balls is also good. What you do not want to use probably is a tennis ball because it's just a little too soft. All right, so I've got my lacrosse ball, and I also have some blocks here if you don't happen to have a wall, okay? So what we're gonna be doing today is we are going to be stretching the front side of our body. And the reason being why is because we're like this, most of us. Some variation of this type of posture, right? So that means it's tight through the front and long and weak through the back side. So we want to open up our body and stretch out these muscles on the front side of our body. We do a lot of linear movements like walking. I know lots of ladies like to walk, and that's a great activity, but it also tightens up these muscles, and it doesn't necessarily work the back muscles as much as you like to, and therefore they are weak and knees get tight. So are you ready to get started? All right, and one other piece is you could use a band, or I happen to have skipping ropes because I forgot about this specific stretch, or a belt, or anything long, okay, or anything stretchy like an elastic band, a long one, that will also do as well. So let's get started. I'm going to give you some variations here. So we're going to stretch out the chest. So this tends to get very, very tight for a lot of people. So the first variation is having the hands in the small of your back, okay, wherever it's comfortable. You don't want to be jammed up here in your neck, okay? So you always want a nice elongated neck. So if you need to bring your hands down a little bit lower, you can. So standing with legs hip width apart, knees are soft. You're going to roll your shoulder blades back and down, and then just open up your chest. So you want to think about reaching that sternum bone up towards the ceiling versus stretch pushing through your low back. So think sternum, okay? Think sternum. I'm going to do this down on my knees so you can see better. I'll get a little bit closer. So hands in the small of your back. Inhale, that's those shoulder blades back, and think about reaching your sternum up towards the ceiling. So this would be, call it level 1. I always like to start off with a little bit easier versus a little harder, so you get a nice stretch across that upper chest. Do you guys feel that? And if you happen to be on your live, come say hi. If you're watching replay, please tell me replay, right? Replay. All right, so you're getting that stretch. I can definitely feel it more on my right side versus my left side. So think about sternum bone up towards the ceiling. So if you want to intensify it a little bit more, take your hands behind your back, interlace your fingers. Same thing, shoulder blades back and down. You want to ensure that you have a long neck and spine. Gently pull the arms away, reaching your collarbone up towards the ceiling one more time. Yeah, take a nice big deep breath here. And a big exhale. Inhale again. And a big exhale. And that's level 2. Level 3 is gently pull your arms away a little more. At the same time, you reach that collarbone up. So again, make sure you're not pushing your hips forward. You want to stay tall in your spine, and it's more about that upper spine extension versus the low back extension or low spine extension. Good. And then gently release. And if you have a band or something long, like I said, I have a skipping rope. It doesn't have to be anything specific, as long as it's long. Definitely the stretchier bands are easier to use. This doesn't have a lot of stretch. And the last one would be to have your hands nice and wide and to slide my skipping rope back and over. This may or may not be available to you, and that's okay. This is why I like to give different variations or different options for everybody. Yeah, and you want to go a little slower. And as you feel like you're lengthening and opening up through the chest, you can cinch in a little bit tighter. That's only an option. So again, don't push through your low back. And for me, this kind of gets a little sticky right about here. This is where it's tight for me. And if you have shoulder injuries, this may not be possible for you either. Okay, so it's not about trying to keep up with what I'm doing. It's about trying to figure out what you can do, what's possible for you, and what feels good. Because stretching is really about exploring the body. It's not about trying to keep up with the Joneses. Oh, Joneses, I guess you could say, right? And these are what we call shoulder passes. And with this, you definitely want to go a little slower versus a little faster. Okay, so that's option 3. Option 4 would be to be up against the wall. I'll just pretend this is a wall. If I push on it, the whole thing's going to fall over. So you want to be, I'm going to show it to you on this side. Well, I guess it's kind of the same. You want to be here. So if this was the wall on my arm, you want to stagger your stance and bring your arm down a little bit lower so you're not jammed in your shoulder. So if this was a wall, I would be here. And you would feel, whoops, the thing's going to fall over. Yeah, drop that shoulder down, drop that arm down. And you want to get that chest as close to the wall as possible. Okay, so that's option 1. You can play around with the arms here, having a little higher versus a little bit lower, and see what that feels like. The last option would be to have your arms here in a 90-degree angle. And same thing, leaning forward so you get that stretch in the chest. Okay? So make sure you do that on both sides, of course. And then last but not least is the lacrosse ball or tune-up ball. And I happen to have blocks, but maybe a coffee table might be better. And ideally, where you want to place this ball is right here in the chest. So right in between my shoulder and my collarbone. There's a little pocket here and you can feel it. This is kind of where you want to put the ball. And then you come down on the block and put the ball right in that little corner pocket there and just adjust it and kind of roll around. So what you don't want to do is roll over top of your bones. And you could ride along the inner edge of your collarbone and see what that feels like. The lacrosse balls are definitely harder than the therapeutic balls, so just be careful that you're still able to breathe here. Yeah, and make sure you do both sides. So let me do switch sides over here so you guys can see. So right in that pocket, collarbone and shoulder. And get some weight on there and have your hands on the floor so you can manage how much weight you put onto your chest. And riding along the bottom edge of your collarbone towards your sternum and just go back and forth. You can make circles, you can make lines, you can zigzag, whatever feels good. Yeah, lacrosse balls are definitely firmer. Ouch. So just put less pressure on it. So the beauty of having these balls and being in this inverted position is that you can actually manage how much weight you put on. All right, so there's lots of different variations for you guys to play with. All right, so that's the chest. I'm going to slowly work our way down towards our legs. I'm just going to move my screen down a little bit so you can see better. So next one here is we're going to stretch out the front side. Okay, you're going to get a stretch across the chest as well as the whole front side of our body. And you might have done this before, probably in a yoga class, is the cobra. There's the mini cobra and then there's the full cobra. I always recommend the mini cobra because more doesn't mean better. Less sometimes in most cases is better. So you're coming down on your front side of your body. So the mini cobra would be to have your forearms on the mat. And a lot of times when people do this is they're overextending into their low back. So if you have low back pain or problems, yeah, it's not much fun. Okay, so you want to start here in this position. You want to roll your shoulder blades back because as I always say, you always want a long neck and spine. You're going to press down into the mat with your forearms. And again, the key here is to think collarbone up towards the ceiling versus trying to back bend into that low back, right? So think about collarbone up to the ceiling, and that's going to get you more extension through the upper spine versus the lower spine where a lot of people have issues down there, right? So think collarbone. Yeah, and just if this, yeah, you always want to work within your range. If you've gone too far and your low back is hurting, you've gone too far. So make sure you work within your range. So think collarbone, draw those shoulders down away from those ears and take your eyeballs up towards the ceiling. And you should feel a stretch all down the chest and down through the front side of your body into your abdominal muscles there. Yeah, and then relax. Okay, you can just take a little rest here and bring your arms to your side with your head turned over to one side. Good, and then we're gonna do that again. All right, so come on up. Place your hands on the mat, lift yourself up, having your forearms back on the mat. Inhale, exhale, shoulder blades back and down. Push down into that mat and slowly reach your collarbone up and think about how your neck feels. Does your shoulders feel like it's right up at your ears, or do they feel, does your neck feel long? You want to make sure your neck feels long. Yeah, so that's your mini cobra. And as you all know, the full cobra is being up on your hands, and you can have your hands out a little further. And again, think about reaching. This is definitely more into your low back. However, you still want to keep those shoulders down away from those ears and reach your collarbone up. If you want to make it harder, bring your hands closer towards you. Okay, so that is your stretch through the front side. Now, more importantly, we're going to work those hips a little bit. Okay, so this is another area where we're very tight because we're into this linear movement, just walking, running, cycling, those types of things, as well as sitting in a chair just way too long. All right, so I have this foam roller just as a prop. You don't necessarily need it. Okay, so the prop's going to be on my right side, and I'm going to have my left leg forward. And when we're in this lunge position where we're going to stretch out our hip flexors, you want to ensure that your feet are like on train tracks, okay? So you don't want one foot stacked over top of the other. Think train tracks, okay? And the reason being is it's going to be more stable. Same thing with the foam roller. You want the opposite foot and hand. Yeah, because this gives you more stability versus having it on this side, okay? But it's total your own preference, okay? Tuck that tail under. Make sure you walk this foot forward a little bit so you're not jammed in, and then press your hip forward, and you should feel a stretch on the opposite hip. Yeah, and like I said, this foam roller is just optional, okay? Yeah, you don't want to be leaning too hard. A lot of times people are stretching like this. You want to be, perpendicular. We're looking for angles, 90-degree angles. You want to be perpendicular to your spine, to be perpendicular to the floor, 90-degree angles in the legs. Tucking that tail under ensures that you get more of a stretch through your hips. Sometimes I see this. This is into your low back again, all right? So less is more, tucking that bum under, pressing your hip forward. And if you want to intensify, make it level 2, squeeze your right butt cheek. So it's my left leg forward, squeezing the right butt cheek, and then press is going to get you more of a stretch through that hip flexor again, okay? And then level 3 is an option. You can bring the opposite arm up, grow tall in your spine, yeah? So you want to get that arm as close to your ear as possible, keeping your ribs tucked in, okay? So this ensures a long neck and spine. Take the next inhale, exhale, hinge over to the opposite side. Yeah, I still got my right butt squeezed here, and you want to continue to hug your ribs in, so again, it doesn't go into your low back, so you should feel a nice stretch on the opposite side. So in this case, it's my right side. Yeah, and then bring that arm back to center, drop the arm, step back with your left leg, move the foam roller to the other side, bring the other leg forward, check in. It's important to look to see where you're at in terms of where your body's positioned. Okay, oftentimes this is what I see. Your heel's too close, and then now you see how my knee is jetting forward, it's putting a lot of pressure here. So it's important to have your leg a little bit forward. Legs are on train tracks. You can't see it here. Tuck that tail under. Press your hip forward. Grow tall in your spine. Hug your ribs in. Yeah, proper posture is key, especially when you can get into your low back. Good. Awesome. Give that left butt squeeze or left cheek a squeeze here. And then press your hip a little bit. So you notice that you can't press your hip as forward when your butt cheek is squeezed. And that ensures that you're protecting your low back. Good. All right. Option to move that foam roller. Extending the left arm up. Reach for the ceiling. Hug your ribs in. Take the next inhale, exhale, hinge over. And if you can see, I'm not hinged so far over that I'm actually folding forward. This is why it's important to hug your ribs in first, lengthen through the spine, and then tip over to the opposite side. Yeah, so you feel that stretch all the way through the obliques, through this whole side body. Take the next inhale, exhale, come back to center, drop that arm down. Good. All right, another hip flexor stretch that we can do, because this is a very tight area for a lot of ladies. Okay, so the next one we can do is if you have blocks, okay, and this is necessary if you don't have a lot of flexibility, is having these types of props, okay? Lowest would be here, medium height, and then top height. So just be careful that you have your weight right over top so the blocks don't fall over. So I'm gonna use the medium height here. So now I'm here in this lunge position. Tuck that back toe under, lift that back leg up. I'm gonna tuck my bum under a little bit and just let my hip drop. Yeah, and make sure here in your upper body and your arms that you don't let your head sink into your shoulders. You wanna push down into that block. Long neck and spine, long lines is what we're aiming for as long as you can get them. Yeah, and let that hip drop. You can squeeze that left butt cheek, which is my back leg here. Squeeze that left butt cheek and just let that hip drop down just a little bit lower, and it's going to intensify that stretch a little bit. Yeah. Okay. Next option from here, if you'd like, is to open up the right side. So you're here, opening, getting a nice spinal rotation in there, and then hand back down. Step back with the front leg. Step forward with the back leg. Okay, pushing down with your hands on the block and letting that right hip drop. Yeah. And in terms of your head and your eyes, you always want to think neutral spine. Oftentimes when we're in this inverted position, we're down here letting our heads hang. Bad posture again. This is what we do all day long. Elongate your spine, looking forward, neutralize. Yeah, squeeze that right butt cheek. Yeah, hold it there. Nice little stretch to the front of the legs. Yeah. Next option here is to open up the left side. Get a nice spinal rotation here while you're at it, because why the heck not? There we go. Reach for the stars. Open up through that upper spine. Hand back down. Drop that back knee and bring that leg back. And you are here. Okay. We got into the hip flexors. You would have felt it through your quads here as well, but we're going to do a quad stretch specifically. Okay, so some options here is to just sit on your heels. Okay, this is too uncomfortable. These aren't ideal. Probably pillows are probably better if you have yoga pillows. Yeah, these aren't going to work. But if you have a pillow, I have a pillow right here. Okay, this is going to help. Okay, if this is too much tension on your knees, is to sit on a pillow. So right now my pillow is in between my heels and my bum. Bring your knees together. You get a nice stretch to the knees and a little bit through the quads here. Okay? Option 2 would be, obviously the lower you get, the harder it is. Now this is more of a knee stretch. And then I can't do these because I got a bad knee right now, is to have your heels a little bit wider and sitting back. You can also have a pillow underneath as well. Okay, let's move on to the quads. And it's important to stretch the knees up, but I know that this position is very uncomfortable for a lot of people. If it's too uncomfortable, don't do it. It's just too intense. Because when you do a stretch, it should just be a nice, gentle pull. All right, so quad stretch. There's a couple of options here. Let's do this one. You could also use a belt or a strap or a skipping rope. Because I've actually got my band packed away. I'm heading off to train some clients here. All right, so lying on your side, Bend that bottom knee, grabbing onto the laces of your top leg, and then rolling the hip forward to get that stretch through the front of the legs. So again, if you can't reach your foot, you just wrap your foot with something like a skipping rope here in my case, and then that gives you some access to stretch the quads. Okay, so press your hip forward. Yes, that's going to intensify the stretch here. Good, and make sure you breathe. That's it. And release. And let's do the other side. Oh, I know. There was a reason why I was doing that knee stretch, because that was the other one. But this one, everybody's different. So it's all about finding what stretch or what exercise works best for you. Grabbing onto those laces. Inhale, exhale, roll your hip forward and try to get your knee down towards the other one. Good. So again, you want your spine to be long. You don't want to be pushing your hips forward that you're feeling it into your low back. You definitely want to feel this in the front of your legs. Okay. This one I believe is a little easier on your knees if you happen to have knee problems. And then gently release. Oh yeah, this is the one. Okay, this is where I was going. Had a little brain issue here. Okay, so sitting way back with your hands behind you. Make sure to do this way. Okay? And you just bring one leg back. Yeah, if you have knee problems, this is definitely not a good one, because I know I can't do this one on my other leg. And then you've got three options here, having your hands. So being upright is probably easier. As your spine gets down lower, it's harder, so you can move your hands back, option one. Being down on your elbows, option two. And then when we were kids, we'd be lying back. So again, pick one that works for you and try to get that leg a little bit closer towards the midline. Yeah, if you got like medial or inner knee issue, ligament issues, this is definitely not a good one to be doing. And then release, because I've got that right now, and not bad, nothing yet, but yeah, you got to be careful. Okay. So again, stretching should be just something that's very gentle, a nice gentle pull, where you can actually still breathe, believe it or not. Good, and then release. So just shaking out your legs. And while we're here, because we have a little bit of time, stretching out the back of the legs. I did do a little tear on my hamstrings last week, so my ability here today is not great, okay? So you want to grow tall in your spine, bring your toes towards your nose, and you can have your hands behind your thighs here, and you want to reach your chest forward. Oftentimes when we do this one, we're kind of hunched over, okay? So the idea here is to grow tall in your spine, shoulders back and down, and then slowly reaching your chest towards your, call it your shins. And if you need some assistance, you can have a band, wrap it around your feet, and then reach your chest forward this way. And again, less is more. Gentle pull where you still get to breathe. Yeah, and then release. So that's your hamstrings. Let's see how much time we have. Maybe we can do one more hip stretch. Oh, we can. We can do one more hip stretch. More like hips back here, okay? I always like to do hip stretches because, like I said, we are very prone to have tight hips. So option one, sitting with your legs crossed. And you can have your blocks, okay? If you feel like you're tight through the hips and you can't get down too far, this is a good way of supporting yourself, okay? Option one, sitting with your legs crossed and gently folding forward, letting your chest drop, okay? So you should feel it in the hip of the top leg. So right now it's my left leg. You should feel a little bit of stretch here. Good. And if you don't need the block, you just put them away. All right, so that's option one. Option two, same leg, same top leg, is half lotus, okay? So my left leg is on top of my right leg, okay? So this half lotus, same thing, hinging forward. And again, you can also use your blocks here. You should feel a nice stretch through the left hip in this case. All right, so that's option two. And then option three is to take that top leg all the way across the bottom leg. Yeah, so In this case here, guys, regardless of which position or which option you take, you want both your sit bones on the mat. Okay, oftentimes we're kind of slightly elevated here. No, you want to get them down or at level as possible. All right. Take the next inhale, exhale, same thing, hinging forward. Blocks or no blocks is totally up to you to get right into that deep glute muscles and the piriformis. Yeah, make sure you're breathing. Keep your head neutral, so don't let that head drop. Wherever your spine goes is where your head goes. Good. Take the next inhale, exhale, and come on up. Let's try the other side. Pick your option, sitting cross-legged, half lotus, or taking that top leg right over top of that bottom leg and making sure that both your sit bones are on the floor, on your mat. Okay, grow tall in your spine. Wherever your spine goes, your head goes. Take the next inhale. Exhale, hinging forward, hinging forward. Make sure you're still able to breathe. Try to relax those hips. Take a nice big deep breath here. And a big exhale. And slowly work your way back up. And there is your stretch class for today. Extend those legs out, hands behind. Give it a little shake, and you are ready to roll. Yeah, have a great week, everybody. If you're watching this on replay, please let me know. I would love to know. Okay, bye for now. I'm a little dark. Oh, all right. See you later.